Greetings, y'all. This is Rob Gibbs of the Paint Studio, here to show you some instructions on how to prepare and prime a piece before you paint it. By the end of this video, we're gonna walk through some of the supplies, and I'm gonna show you step by step on what it takes to get a blank surface into a gessoed and ready to go piece. Let's go. Here's your surface prep best practices. The choice. This is an important step to know what you're going to paint on for the best choices of materials and tools. All right? For surfaces, we have paper, canvas, illustration board, wood panel, medium density fiber, also known as MDF, and tempered hardwood or hardboard. The difference between MDF and tempered hardwood is that there's a smooth side and a rough side for the tempered hardwood. Now we're going to move on to our tools. For tools, if you want less streaks, you would use a very soft brush. We got big brushes, small brushes. We got a foam brush, foam pole, foam roller, joint knife, which is similar to a scraper, but it's thin. And a joint knife is for more advanced techniques. You're going to need water, a water bucket, sandpaper, and with the sandpaper, there's different grits, all right? So any grit that's between the numbers of 100 and 150 is what you would use in the beginning, because it's a lower grit number where you can rough up the surface pretty well, but not to the point of abuse. The higher the grit of sandpaper, which is 400, is the grit sandpaper that you would use in between coats. And you know, there's a sanding block if you have one, that's preferable, or you could fold the sandpaper to make both sides available to sand your surface. You would need a paper towel for wiping access, and most important, when you are in this sanding process, a bandana or face mask to protect your lungs and respiratory system from the gesso, which, you know, is a liquid form of plastic. The sauce. Now, gesso is the paint primer that we will be using. If and when you use it, there's different results in the prep of your surface. All right? If you don't use it, there will be results. Water stretches it out, and it gives you the ability to put an even flow of gesso onto your surface. All right? So now to the surface prep. When you're sanding your surface, you might want to refer again back to the 100 and 150 grit. You want to sand the surface in a light circular motion, either clockwise or counterclockwise, to give the surface a texture / tooth for the gesso to build on. We like to think about these motions as the Daniel-san wax on, wax off, or in Street Fighter, the Hadouken. Now it's time to prime. It's prime time. With the gesso of your choice, of gesso, apply a series of coats to properly prepare your surface for action. The goal is to get a silky smooth finish. Here's some gesso tips. When you add water to gesso, it's to stretch the application of gesso because of its thickness. A good grade of gesso, regardless of the brand, will be heavy in texture. If it's easier for you to make a sauce out of the gesso, I suggest that if you are familiar with making pancakes, to make a pancake batter thickness, likeness, or you can do it directly onto the surface to have more control and accurate use of the water to gesso texture. First coat. With the first coat, you can make a decision to go either horizontal or vertical. Going horizontal in thin coats to see the direction when it dries. If you go vertical, make that choice so that you can see it in the first thin coat when it dries. After your first coat, you would like to wait for 30 minutes. After that 30 minutes, you would like to hit it with a light sanding using the 400 grit sandpaper. Remember to wax on, wax off. After you hit it with the lightly sand, wipe the surface down with the paper towel. And please remember to make sure that you're wearing your face mask in between coats so that what you sand does not cause respiratory problems. Second coat. Your second coat should be in the opposite direction of your first coat with a generous amount of gesso so it can simulate the fibers of a canvas. If you simulate the fibers of a canvas on a wood panel with your gesso, it will give the paint the proper tooth to grab on. And just remember, after that second coat, that you would either make a choice to either go horizontal or vertical. You would want to wait 30 minutes for it to dry. After that 30 minutes, you want to lightly sand using the 400 grit sandpaper in the Hadouken motion. Then you wipe it down. Here we are, coming up on your third and final coat. Repeat the gessoing application to a desired smoothness and sand only if you care to have texture for your colors to build on. Once you achieve this final coat, the approximate time for it to dry could be 1 hour to 1 day to a few days. So we would definitely suggest that you would sand a series of panels all in the same session for the time in between. And on that note, once your surface is completed, gotta piece you out. Now I'd like to take the time to talk about some things that you can pay attention to in this segment of Pro Black on the tips. First tip, loose ends. Pay close attention in between coats to the loose brush hairs and fibers that may appear onto your surface, and you can remove them with either a clean and clear brush, or if you're going to use your hands and your intuitive to pick up the bristles, make sure to smooth out your surface in between the coats. And this is for smoother results. Another tip is to tint your gesso for the final layer. In your final layer of gessoing, if you have an ideal base or background color, you can add that color into the gesso to give somewhat of a suggested layer, because in the series of, or in the idea of painting, you want to consistently paint. Here's another tip. Patience is real. The more you practice patience when you are gessoing your piece, it gives the best results. So make sure that you plan and give an adequate time for you to gesso your pieces. Here's another tip. Maximize your waiting time. While you're waiting for your canvas to dry in between sessions or your wood panel, this is a perfect opportunity for you to clean your brushes, because a clean brush is a happy brush. You can review your sketches that are going onto the surface by modifying them to make sure that they fit the panel. And most importantly, get height, because you definitely are itching to put down that first set of lines for the magic to happen. And here's the last tip. Please do not cut corners. The more corners you cut, the shortcuts you think you can take, it'll show in your final piece, and it adds time onto your progress. Time is the most expensive thing that you would not want to spend on a piece, and the preparation of it by skipping steps. Deuces.